name is Madan Mohan Rao, Research Director for Your Story. And on behalf of all of us at Your Story, I want to welcome you all to the fireside chat today with Lenskart on Anywhere Customer Experience for Omnichannel Retail in the Resolve series by Freshworks. Before I introduce our speakers, let me set the context a little bit. If there is one thing that the rising smartphone usage and internet connectivity have done for customers, it is to make them much more aware. With users getting access to multiple sources of information, their choices and spending patterns are changing accordingly. This shift in consumer behavior has led retail brands to focus on exploring more digital-first channels of engagement with users, be it with online stores, offline stores, social media, or e-commerce platforms. Moreover, with COVID-19 pandemic pushing for a socially distanced world, digital solutions have transformed consumer behavior in an unprecedented manner. As brands leverage emerging technology to cater to the needs of the post-pandemic consumer, delighting users is turning out to be a challenge for omnichannel retail, considering the competition and operational costs. Hence, it is not surprising to see businesses targeting retail consumers across channels through strategies like streamlined customer service and personalized interactions at every touchpoint. To help us figure out how customer experience is evolving with the changing business landscape in the omnichannel retail space, we have with us two distinguished, accomplished panelists. First up, we have Ramneek Khurana, co-founder and vice president for product at Lenskart.com. He is an alumnus of Georgia Institute of Technology. He co-founded Lenskart in 2010 and is currently heading product teams for Android, iOS, web apps, and supply chain systems, among others. Before Lenskart, he worked with Michelin in various roles. Welcome aboard, Ramneek.
Glad to be here.
Thanks. And joining us also, we have Vinod Chandramoli, Principal Consultant for Business Transformation at Freshworks. Vinod has led Freshworks India and ASEAN businesses. He specializes in retail and media industries and helps businesses innovate in the customer experience strategy. Welcome aboard, Vinod.
Thank you very much, Madan. Ramneek, it's a pleasure.
Great, thanks. So before we dive into the questions, let me just ask Ramneek to tell us a little bit about what Lenskart is and does, especially for our international viewers. Ramneek?
Yeah, absolutely. So Lenskart is the biggest eyewear player in India, both online and offline. We have 750 plus stores and we have presence currently in India, Singapore, and Middle East. And majority of our consumers get to know us by our website and our app. And we are a online first e-commerce player for selling eyewear.
Thanks, Ramneek. I'd like to ask you to tell us a little bit more about your leadership position. From being an e-commerce brand to now an omnichannel retail leader, you've been loved by customers across the spectrum. So can you tell us a little bit about how do you delight your customers with consistent experiences across traditional channels as well as digital channels? Ramneek?
Yeah. So you're right. We started as pure play e-commerce player, but during those days when we did study after study, what we found as consistently coming up as two needs from the customers was the number one was getting an eye checkup done, and second, the ability to try the glasses and get a sense of size and feel of the product. That's when we, other than working on our technological solutions, which is augmented reality and machine learning based sizing tool, we also experimented with opening stores. And from the very get-go, since we began stores from this perspective, our approach has always been consumer backwards. So we build products and workflow which allow customers to seamlessly transition between online and offline in their interaction with our agents or at store or at their home. So while doing so and while building products in this fashion, what we try to do is that we try to make technology more and more invisible. So when a store team member welcomes you in the store, he is able to easily access your profile with your permission, where they are able to access your previous order, your shortlist, and are able to suggest glasses to you from the store basis of what you have already browsed or what you have liked. Similarly, in case of post sales, if you raise any issue or you begin a thread with us on, say, Twitter, we are able to easily access that at store and give you a resolution then and there. So this experience allows us to give a consistent Lenskart experience to everyone, no matter how they experience us.
Thanks so much for setting the stage there, Ramneek. My next question now is for Vinod. Vinod, the pandemic has hastened the need for brands to add digital channels of engagement along with traditional ones. In your experience, how have brands ensured that they meet customers wherever they prefer, Vinod?
Yeah, thank you for it. And, first of all, I really want to say that some of the brand examples I'm going to be giving today comes from pioneers like Lenskart. So, they really have handled the omni-channel and both the offline and the online world really well. right from the experience they provide to the customers, both at the store and also online. And this pandemic, I really think has pushed a lot of roadmaps of digital transformation quite early. Satya Nadal calls that the digital transformation in a lot of organizations have moved forward by a couple of years because everybody were sent online and back to their homes and then sort of asked to figure out. And one big area where we started seeing a lot of queries where customer behaviors also changed. A lot of customers wanted to obviously empathize with the situation, but we're not in dire need of waiting for the brand to get back. The loyalty was actually could potentially be broken in a much faster way. So obviously brands, when they reached out to us, and in the last 1.5 to 2 years of pandemic, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of retail brands, especially, and all of them very similarly come and say that digital adoption needs to start now. And a lot of them are in various stages of it. So some of them come for omnichannel solution, but if they already have an omnichannel solution, they try to integrate the new channel which is opened up, which is brick and mortar, right? Because that now just becomes another channel rather than primary driver of business. So a lot of brands want to come and talk to us about increasing revenue through keeping in touch with customers, proactive, not just support, but digital transformation and come into sales as well. It isn't just the CRM, which used to be the only sales tool people used to have back in the day. A lot of focus on integrating siloed departments between marketing and sales and support, a very thin line on post-sale and pre-sale, because everything now becomes an experience. Your post-sale leads to a pre-sale. So it really depends on where you are. So a lot of those journeys and customer journeys, reinventing those is where the majority of the focus has been the last, I would say, couple of quarters or more.
Thanks, Vinod, for telling us that so much has changed in this space. And one of the other changes, of course, is the rise of instant messaging. So my next question for Ramnik is, from offering shopping assistance to answering queries on order status, Lenskart is using WhatsApp as a toll-free channel for customers. So can you share with us how IM channels help as a sales channel for high-value products? Ramnik?
Yeah, absolutely. So WhatsApp is a very powerful medium. There are two key things which it brings to table for us. Number one is that it's ubiquitous. It allows us to continue the conversation with the customer for multiple days, even after they have left the application. As an example, when a customer visits our app and checks out few glasses, and in case they are not able to complete the transaction within 5 days, we are able to approach them and ask them whether they want to do a free eye checkup at our store or at their home, which helps them in completing the transaction. And it also allows us to address a lot of their post-sales queries because of this. Another reason why WhatsApp is very important for us is that it is got an user interface which people are very used to now. So people are very used to sharing pictures over WhatsApp with their friends and family. Similarly, when they come to us pre-sales, they're easily able to take a picture of one of the glasses that they might like and share with us that I want a glass like this. And on the back end, we are able to then plug in our visually similar recommendation engine, which allows the sales agent to give very relevant suggestions to the customers and which helps us in closing the deal really quickly.
Thanks, Ramnik, for those insights and those use cases. Let me turn now to Vinod. Vinod, with over 2 billion users and an 80% penetration in over 15 countries, WhatsApp seems to be everywhere. So taking a cue from what we just heard about Lenskart's success, how can other brands also leverage WhatsApp as an effective and easily accessible channel for customer engagement, service, and sales? Vinod?
Yeah. Obviously, WhatsApp, I think, is everywhere. We live in either the world of Zoom or the world of WhatsApp these days. And I think our customers are also really spending a lot of time talking to each other. And, when WhatsApp for Business had initially started, all of us really thought that this is going to be one more forwarding group you would have when you wake up in the morning. But in the last, I think, couple of years, they have really done a good job of driving a narrative, and brands like Lenskart and vendors like Freshworks has brought in, I think, a really nice touch to the customer journey. So when Ramnik spoke about how they engage, we see very similar stuff with our customers. We have customers who look at us for pre-purchase, for example. You could use a platform like Freshworks and run ads on Facebook, and at the click of an ad on Facebook, you could get a WhatsApp interaction with the brand. So that drives a big way of engaging with customers in the channel of communication they really want. So that's one big thing we see brands utilizing for. The other one's obviously also pushing appointments and evaluations and stuff like that. And, like a lens card, assign somebody to come in to do an eye check. A lot of the WhatsApp communication happens over that, scheduling and rescheduling and all of those. So that really drives the experience for customers to make that purchase. Then we see chat-based sale conversation at scale, right? When you want to be able to think about chat, a lot of different chats are there. And I'd like to call this a choice bot, which is it gives you on WhatsApp multiple choices. So you don't necessarily have to keep typing and try to drive the intent. You're sort of asked those intents. So we see some of our customers utilizing that to convert customers while they're experiencing the product. And then obviously, I think there are 100,000 conversations out there about WhatsApp post-sale, which is how can brands be engaged. So I really think that WhatsApp has captured the chat world. There is chat now, and then there is WhatsApp as well. But Lenscard's a great example of how WhatsApp can be tapped in, and then the remaining channels can still continue to flourish as much as a WhatsApp can.
Thanks, Vinod. Those are some very good trends, which I'm sure our audience will appreciate. My next question for Ramnik is on growth strategy. For high-touch retailers like yours, customer retention and loyalty are key focus areas to succeed in such a crowded market. So how do you elevate customer experience to a growth function from a servicing one, which impacts metrics beyond retention? Ramnik?
So for us, it is very clear that no business can be successful without customer loyalty leading to high repeat purchases. Burning money to always continue to acquire new customers and lose them due to poor service is really a broken process for us. Therefore, at our end, we continuously take feedback in terms of NPS across our various touchpoints with consumers. And we have a clear models, correlating this to our business of our different stores, repeat of customers in online, and the lifetime value of the consumers. So we are able to very easily predict how much change in NPS can drive meaningful results for the business. And since we also have multiple touch points with consumers, we are able to constantly compare them and improve on these models. In fact, NPS drives 60% plus of our technology projects that we take up every quarter and is the single most common metric amongst different teams across technology, online revenue, store teams, merchandising, and plant operations.
Thanks, Ramnik. Speaking of metrics, let me ask Vinod now, is CSAT and NPS enough to gauge customers' experience and to assess if businesses are meeting their expectations? Do you think there are other metrics that businesses need to measure and optimize for? Vinod?
Yeah. I think CSAT and NPS is the creme de la creme of metric for customer expectation. And a lot of initiatives we've seen customers run literally calls it voice of the customer, which is you sort of understand what your customer is talking about. But I believe in this pandemic, we've got to also consider in the overall experience a lot of other things. One of it, which is becoming really big in brands I talk to, is how long or what's the effort a customer is taking to reach out to a brand. A customer effort score of sorts, right? And this takes into consideration self-service, capabilities of bots, capabilities of being there in front of your customer in omni-channel experience and stuff like that. Because NPS is more of a reacted post-reaction metric. By then you probably have had a good or a bad experience, but you've established this already. But even before you could get to that, a lot of these could, if you could think about the productivity, if you could think about self-service, those are big places where we see brands now looking at data. Customer is no longer the king. I think customer data is the king. And with customer data, you can really drive a lot of these initiatives. And another thing also we oftentimes see brands consider is employee experience bakes into it as well. If your stores are unable to respond, taking the Lenscard an example, if the store representatives are unable to provide feedback back to the organization, which may enable a good or a bad experience the next time a customer walks in, that seems to be missing out. So a lot of our customers are now curious to plug that data in and then bring a very holistic 360-degree view on where the customer journey needs to be, Madan.
Thanks, Vinod. Customer data is king. That's a great soundbite and a very good insight also for our audiences. I'd like to ask Ramnik now about some other trends that we're seeing. As fashion customers get more anxious about the purchase, they tend to look for personalized attention and speedy responses. So, how does Lenskart support team scale this degree of personalization in customer service? Ramnik?
Customer end, first we make it easy for them to reach out to us via any channel that they want. It can be email, WhatsApp, or via social media. And at the back end, we use Freshworks to tie all these tickets together into common threads where the resolution is given. Since we are an omni-channel business, this thread is visible to all relevant stakeholders. It can be the store where the purchase was done, or it can be the support agent who's working on the ticket, or it can be also the relevant departments which are working on, like delivery teams or merchandising, etc. So this allows us to offer a personalized service to customer no matter wherever they go, be it on Twitter or at the store or the Lenskart app, as all the information is assimilated at a single pace to allow us to give a quick response.
Thanks, Ramnik. My last question now is for Vinod, and this is about the traditional sort of tension between quality versus scale. Retail customers have a clear preference for brands that can delight them with personalized interactions. But this may seem like a daunting task for agents considering the volumes they're dealing with. So, how can agents be equipped to delight customers with ease at the same time? Vinod?
Yeah, I think the first thing, on a funnier note, I think back in the day, personalization used to be if I could identify you as a customer. We all come from the world of just identification of a phone number meant it was a better experience. To now, it has gone beyond identification, which is I won't give you as much information about me, but I'd still like you to provide me with insights and purchases and everything else, right? And I really think that brands are almost have this responsibility of personalizing the content. And this pandemic has pushed a lot of customers' loyalty and stickiness towards almost like a perceived behavior. How do you push your customer to look at your organization? And that puts a heavy toll on agents because the agents oftentimes are at the brunt of all of what had been committed by marketing and sales and everything else. In my vendor sales world, I have a lot of support people who oftentimes talk about Freshworks. But in the world of Lenskart and other large retailers, this customer query converting coming from, hey, your website said 20% off, but I didn't get that, or your website said it'll come in 10 days of shipping, and a lot of these are tool-driven decision making. So there must be error, and to err is human, right? But oftentimes the agents aren't equipped enough to be able to demonstrate their value, but is expected to do this as a human quotient or an element. So a good place where agents can, rather brands can focus on unburdening the agent. We see a lot of brands engage in putting almost like flipping the switch and putting the bot on the agent side. Because your agents have 1,000 workflows to go through. If it's a complex setup where you've got to think about approvals on one side, you've got to think about all the others, your agents aren't trained enough to be able to do this, and that spends a lot of time. So we see a lot of success in brands thinking about almost like a wizard of sorts on the agent side, and that enables the agent to provide support in a lot of better way. That plus many other automations and really brand focusing on productivity, like I said, thinking about customer efforts code, all of it, I think, solves for the agents doing a better job of driving value rather than doing mundane stuff. Madan.
Thanks, Vinod. Thanks, Ramnik. We come to the end of our very insightful discussion now. I think 3 key takeaways from me are sort of the 3 E's: experience, engage, elevate. Give customers a terrific experience, engage with them wherever they are, and elevate, raise the game, raise the mark so that they can get the best possible service from you. Thank you both very much. We wish you all the best in your journeys ahead. Thank you to our audience.
Thank you.